We'll need to give them answers by tomorrow, Captain.
I'll have them. Dismissed.
The Seneschal was particularly vocal.
Dismissed. You'd think the Captain of the Guard could requisition a Templar or two, but no, that would be demeaning. Can't have them working for the people when eternity needs a nanny.
That's why I remain unimportant. Less pressure.
As if the return of the Amels hasn't set HighTown on its ear.
As long as it's off its ass.
Sure, have your fun. But the coin you poured into Kirkwall tipped what balance there was.
I didn't realize I was making it worse by getting ahead.
I'm just harassing you. Although you are a bit like the center of a hurricane. You've changed fortunes for many people, not always for the better.
Sounds like you're spreading yourself pretty thin.
There are a lot of people in my charge. Someone has to look out for them.
You guard the guardsmen?
I don't turn people loose like Jevon. There's additional training, doubled patrols. Costs are up, but I've halved injuries. I'll take it and argue with Seneschal Bran later.
After the last captain, you couldn't have expected this to be easy.
At least I had the guards on my side. Once they understood, they rallied. And those who didn't weren't fit to hold the crest. Stack friends against the enemies. I don't know if I came out ahead, but it's for the better.
Grouse all you want. But the Aveline I know doesn't regret a second as captain.
They'd have to drag me out of here. And I'm sure some are lining up to try. You among them, I bet. Haven't had much time to follow you around. Not that I need to. I can trust that you at least try to do right.
Alright, well, life goes on.
Just say the word.
Sure enough, we made it back from the deep roads, but, my family's dwindling, slowly but surely. Lost my brother on the way here to Kirkwall, and then once we get here, now my sister's gone to the Circle. Had I taken her into the deep roads, it would have ended up much the same. Even worse for her. I would dare say. I don't know.
How much longer do I have to wait?
Well, I don't know. I actually, getting corrupted with the blight in the deep roads might have been actually better than the Kirkwall Circle, come to think of it.
Oh, there you are. I've been looking everywhere for you, Messiah. If only you humans didn't all look the same.
We can't all be short and bearded like your people, Bowden.
Indeed. It's quite a shame, really. There's a gentleman waiting at the mansion. He insists on seeing you. He says his name is Dougal. Your mother thought it wise, I tell you, Messiah.
I paid Dougal years ago. Why would he be back now?
He wouldn't tell me, I'm afraid. He refused to come back another day, even after I told him repeatedly that I didn't know when you would return. He doesn't really seem like the most reputable sort, I'm afraid, even for a dwarf.
You left him alone in the mansion with Mother?
My boy Sandal is with her. But, you make a good point. I'll run back right away. Before I go, may I simply say how grateful I am that you've allowed my boy to stay in your home. I said I would repay you for saving Sandal's life, and I shall serve you faithfully. It is good to know he is safe.
Let me guess. This was Mother's idea?
As you say, yes. I'll leave you to your business. Don't forget about your guest. Your mother claims he was eyeing the silverware.
Bowden sure has a good nose for where the coin is at. Now, we knew we hadn't heard the last of Dougal, but, yeah, he has no business being in my house. But, as long as Sandal's there with Mother, then, yeah, actually, she will be alright. Sandal's a badass, man. Alright, and, as I go along, we'll be kind of repeating the pattern of, covering all the areas, day and night. Make sure we clear everything out. I want to find all the good stuff. There's not a whole lot I can do, I don't think, until I really go to my mansion. I'm going to go ahead and visit the estate now that we've gotten it back. I think I'd pass on the mansion if I could get my sister back, but it is what it is, so we'll just, you know, life goes on. A whole lot better than Gamlin's house, right? At some point we need to head off and do one of these DLCs. Much nicer than Gamlin's house, most definitely.
You've settled in nicely.
It's just luck and skill.
Indeed. Still, more coin never hurts, right? Say, if someone wanted to pass some work your way...
I'm listening, Aveline. What's the trouble?
A thorn in my side, inventing trouble and scaring people. Remember Emmerich, the Templar? He wants your help, and some sort of official sanction.
Official sanction?
For his investigation. He's convinced that every random murder in the past few years is connected, and he won't be quiet.
You don't think it's worth investigating?
I have. He even convinced one of my lieutenants to raid the Dupuis mansion. Nothing there. You wouldn't believe how much ass I had to kiss after that. Bloody hobbyist constable. Why can't he spend his declining years building a boat or something?
Seems like it should be easy to prove if there are bodies.
Kirkwall isn't the safest place. That doesn't mean everything terrible is related. There's no sense to that. Can't be.
I seem to recall he had some good leads.
Then you won't mind chasing his threads. If it leads somewhere, I'll pick it up. Right now, he's just distracting my men. He's in the gallows. Do what you can. Thanks, Hawk. I'll try not to make a habit of this.
Yeah, ignoring this isn't going to make it go away. I really don't like this quest line. I really don't. But, Emmerich's still concerned about it. There's got to be something to it. So we'll look into that. But this guy, he needs to get out of my house.
Why, hello again. Lovely home you have here. And may I say your mother makes for delightful company?
Veiled threats, bitch.
Another visitor. We've moved up in the world, Mother.
Evidently so.
My apologies, Syrah. Your daughter and I simply have a bit of business to conclude.
I'll leave you two alone then. Be careful.
Yeah, I'm thinking we don't have any business, buddy.
Darling woman. A shame that she spends so much time here alone.
That was the wrong thing to say, bitch.
Just what are you saying?
Allow me to get right to the point. I know all this came from Deep Road's treasure. I know you repaid me, but I think I deserve a larger share of your fortune. Fair's fair, right?
I kept my end of the bargain. Now get out.
Pity. Have it your way, Hawk. We'll be seeing each other again, I'm sure.
I want the option to kill him right here, while he doesn't have 50 girlfriends with him. That's fine. More of his girlfriends, more XP when I kill him.
I'm glad Bethany always writes. Didn't Fenris say all Tevinter wine is made from the blood and tears of slaves? I hope he was exaggerating.
Blood and tears. Oh, yeah, Fenris. Awesome. All Tevinter wine is made from the blood and tears of
Says it reminds me
slaves.
of the old god relics they had in Tevinter.
Alright, so there's our things that we can activate to go do these DLCs.
Phallic tuber.
Suggested, Pedro suggested we go do Legacy. Act 2, and then I guess we'll wait for Mark of Assassin in Act 3. Not sure why he said they made the most sense, or they were the most relevant, I guess, but we'll see. See when we get there. Legacy is the one I'm really wanting to keep my eyes on. Take a good, strong look at if I can. Hopefully it'll reveal some new things about the Elder One. Coryphanus.
Any enchantments? I'm sure my boy would be happy to help.
Alright, so we have our quest log with oh wow, okay, 1 billion quests in it. I don't know if we have to check these off to actually go do them, but go ahead and mark these as red. Maybe they'll disappear, make room for more when I get back. Still order our potions and grenades and runes and stuff.
It's strange living here again. My childhood home. Now owned by my child. I do hope you've been upfront with me about really owning it. I don't want to be at the mercy of that wretched Dougal. It's nice to be here, though. To feel like an Amel again.
Just don't go all pompous on me, all right?
I promise. If there's one thing I learned in Ferelden, it's that good people can be born in a hut as easily as a palace. Honestly, after so many years as a peasant's wife, it feels strange to have nothing to do. I visited Bethany at the Circle, and she seems happy enough. I guess I just need to start picking you out a suitable husband.
Oh no, meddling.
I've been wondering if I shouldn't remarry. I'm sure the last thing you need is your mother watching over your shoulder every time you come home. But perhaps there is still life once your children have outgrown you.
You've been through a lot. You deserve any joy you can find.
Thank you, love. No one could ever replace your father. But it is refreshing to think I could still be courted at this age. Seneschal Bran has a son about your age.
Try and go find yourself a boyfriend. Stop worrying about my affairs. I'll tell you what.
Hey, look. A partially burned page from Anders' manifesto.
I like the doggy. Ruff, ruff, ruff. Ruff, 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 ruff.
It looks like they're having a nice chat. Maybe Sandal picked up some Mabari speak from our time at the hero of Ferelden's camp.
Tell you what, that says all I need to know about Sandal right there if the dog approves of him. It says it all. It says a lot about people. Is what your pets think of that person when they meet them. I'm serious. It really does.
Handprints? Was someone swinging on the chandelier?
Sandal swings on the chandelier while we're gone.
I should get some curtains.
And maybe there's things the neighbors are doing I don't want to see.
Ah, it's good to be important. That's Mother's room. I shouldn't intrude.
I figured we'd just run around and inspect the house a little bit before heading on our way. Go do stuff.
Lots of old things from Lothering in there. I think I'll let Sandal empty that. Poor Prince. I told him to stay off the bed. What's this? Oh, Anders' manifesto. Again.
Quite a lovely estate you have here, is it?
There we go. Thought he might have something for us.
Boom! Ah, there he goes again. How he makes these things, I'll never know.
I've never seen another dwarf like him. Does this run in your family?
Not at all, but Sandal isn't really my son. I found him in the deep roads when I left Orzammar for good. Raised him as my own now. Isn't that right, my boy?
I like Bodan.
He's always been this way. Always collecting things and enchanting them. Strange, I suppose.
Have you ever thought of finding out more?
Well, I did. I brought him to the Circle of Magi about a year after we got to the surface. They called him a savant, but then they started giving him the eye like they were going to keep him, so he left. Not going back to those vultures. Sandal's happy as he is.
Perhaps he'll be the first dwarven mage. Wouldn't that be interesting?
I don't know. The actual mages don't do enchanting, do they? Just the ones who had their magic taken away.
Tranquil.
Yes, them. Oh.
I don't think that was mentioned just
Your house is pretty.
on the fly. I don't think it was a coincidence that talk about Sandal actually being a mage. You know, it's kind of said in passing, but I think that actually might be the case. Alright, so among the mages, only the Tranquil can work with delirium and enchant things, right? Sandal being able to, maybe being resistant to delirium because he's a dwarf, but obviously being able to produce some kind of magic. You know, maybe in an alchemical sense, you know, or something. I don't know. There's something to that. Okay, now, first order of business is to go catch up with all my followers, basically.
The Canary must like it here, to stay so long.
From what I've seen, the Canary don't like anything.
That can't be true. They must like some things. Sunshine, butterflies, rainbows.
If I spot a Canary admiring butterflies, Meryl, you'll be the first person I tell.
Yeah, Meryl, I don't think the Canaries sit there and gaze at rainbows and admire butterflies and enjoy the sunshine. That's probably not their first order of business. Maybe so. I guess if that's the case, then Abilene will be the first to let you know.
You! This is your fault! You and that blighter, Varric Tethras. You'll be the end of my boys.
I don't even know who you are.
Yevon, member in good standing of the Dwarven Merchants Guild. Not that it really matters to people like you.
You'll have to be more specific. A lot of things are my fault.
My sons are lost in the deep roads because of stories about you. Your sodding glory and treasure.
Don't you dare blame her. We both know this was Iwan's doing.
If you want to keep your job, shut your mouth, woman.
Your boys are grown men. It was their own decision.
What exactly were they trying to do?
It may be my fault, Monsieur. I've told them all the stories about you.
You're the only one who knows where they went. They were following the path of your expedition. Please help me find them. Don't let my boys die down there.
Your sons made an expedition into the deep roads. Did anyone go with them?
They went alone, the fools. Just my 3 boys against every darkspawn in the deep roads.
Iwan is Yevon's middle son. The whole thing was his idea. Emrys and Merrin were just following his lead. The greedy bastard didn't want to hire anyone else if it meant he had to share the spoils.
Sounds familiar.
I thought coming to the surface meant I would never have to face losing my sons to the darkspawn.
Sure, I'll look. How many darkspawn could have come back in 3 years anyway?
I should approve, but it seems like I save a lot of fools from themselves.
Thank you, Messer. Those boys are my life. They entered the deep roads using the same passage you did. Please find them. I will see you rewarded for your efforts.
It is a point. It does seem like a lot of people we save from themselves. Not really from any outside dangers necessarily, but from their own stupidity. Things that they've got themselves into or they're directly doing to themselves because they're blinded by their cause or whatever. And this guy, in his grief, essentially blaming us for, you know, something that we couldn't have possibly known anything about. What we did something and lived to tell about it, so now we're somehow wrong. You know, I mean, doesn't have to make any sense. I understand grief and worry and stuff. This guy sure keeps backpacks handy. I think this is the same guy that sells you one in Act 1 also. Okay, now a good portion of our gold is going to vanish buying all these armor upgrades, but it's really good to go ahead and get them now. I still have a few items here that I want to kind of pass along to some of my followers. Sell a lot of this excess stuff, but what I'll do is probably each time I go visit a follower, if I have a chance, switch out the party, bring someone new in, level them up real quick, give them any gear, you know, that I'd rather them have than sell, and, you know, take the rest and then go hit the merchants and kind of pawn off the old stuff, replace it with the new, give everybody their skill points and what have you. Now, we'll do a formal character build video. I kind of like doing that on the Let's Plays, is at some point kind of stopping off to the side when the character build is basically done. You know, maybe not max level in terms of, a lot of times all the skills will be in place and then it's just, you know, icing on the cake after that. You know, a few passives here and there to kind of, you know, buff, you know, maybe some damage or survivability or something like that. But overall, once the character and the party build is pretty much set and we're functioning as a whole and everyone's doing their job, at least, you know, the basics of their job, then I'll go ahead and cover and I'll show you guys, you know, at least what I was thinking and share, you know, based on my experience of the game, you know, what I found to be the most, I guess you say functional character builds. I pretty much, after I've played a bit, I kind of get set in my ways, so to speak. I kind of find things that work, and it's kind of like, you know, if it's not broken, don't fix it, you know, type of thing. But it's not that a lot of things can't be improved on either. You know, these are just based on what I understand of the game. You know, I'm by no means a rocket scientist when it comes to crunching the numbers, and I'm just as prone to, you know, miss some key points as anyone else. And so if you guys can see something that would definitely improve in, say, the combat mechanics or overall build or something like that, or just have any questions or just want to share or just whatever, you know, I think that's, comment section is for down below. I'm just as hype about character builds as I am about the story. I will rehash how I see that is that once the story's been told, in other words, once I've played through the game and I know, you know, I know the joke and the punchline in a sense. You know, I've kind of experienced what's going on, and then I find, you know, the end of the story, and I know what's going to happen. The only thing that can really carry a game after that is the gameplay and the character builds. You know, that's why I really like RPGs, because, you know, say if I'm playing an action game or a shooter game where there is no character build involved, once the story's been played through, unless it has a whole lot of unique challenges, a game like Bayonetta or something like that, where, you know, you're constantly trying to top your last best time or your last best score type thing, all while playing through the game. I need to talk to Fenris here in a second, but other than that, RPGs, the replayability is in the ability to rebuild characters, you know.
Tax collector won't be coming around again like you asked. Funny story.
I'll pass, but thank you for the help.
Spoil sport. Why you want to squat up here in HighTown is beyond me.
I like the view.
So do I.
Isabella the hussy. What a flirt.
3 years. There's still no sign of Denarius. I'm beginning to wonder if he's finally given up.
This is his mansion, isn't it? He must know you're here.
Would you be surprised to learn that it isn't, in fact, his mansion? It belongs to a Tevinter merchant, one who has evidently given up on the place. Perhaps he is dead. Perhaps Denarius killed him. Either way, if Denarius is aware of my presence, he has done nothing.
Don't tell me you're going to miss all the attention.
Tell me, what do you do when you stop running?
You take a breath and look around. And start anew.
I don't know how. My first memory is receiving these markings. The lyrium being branded into my flesh. The agony wiped away everything. Whatever life I had before I became a slave, it's lost. I shouldn't trouble you with this. My problems are not yours.
You don't know who you were?
Fenris was the name Daenerys bestowed upon me, his little wolf. If I once had another name or a family, then they were taken from me. But again, this is not your concern.
Your problems are my problems.
Unlucky you. But enough. You have much to keep you busy, I'm certain.
You know, I am not gonna lie. The first... Oh, I couldn't tell you how many times I played through this game. I was not a fan of Fenris. I thought he was whiny, a little emo, just not my thing. You know, nothing to really knock him on, you know. I share his viewpoints on things. He's very down to earth, very realistic, you know. You can get all sentimental if you want, but what is. Not liking it doesn't make it less so. And so, you know, I mean, I'm totally down with that. I just, you know, he would come across, and now I realize... seeing him in somewhat of a different light, I'm seeing a few characters in a different light here, is that you have a guy who has no real experience to draw from. He's trying to come to terms with things that he can't really wrap his mind around, because, I mean, what does he have to base his views on? Really nothing. No real past to speak of. And so, you know, how do you set down roots when you really never had a beginning? You don't know how to make a beginning. You know, he's totally lost, and he needs friends. You know, but he's not going to ask. Like you say, he's, you know, every hand that's reached out to help him has hit him, not been there, you know, to actually help him. So, you know, I get that. And I think he's grateful for a friend. And I like the fact that, you know, okay, whatever, he's a romance option for characters or whatever. That's no interest of mine. But as far as being a buddy, just doing him right, just for the sake of doing him right. Because he's got that coming. He's an honest guy. You know, he like I say, he pays his debts. He tells the truth. He's honest. He's straight up. He's got your back. I mean, you know, and he would like to find a place to call home. I would love to have the ability to reclaim this mansion for him, or help him reclaim this mansion and have it for himself, and have an elf in HighTown here, because I don't see really any elves in HighTown. I don't think the residents of Kirkwall, as they are, would have that, so I would love to make that happen. You know, to where, you know, tax collectors or assessors or town guardsmen or whatever couldn't come by any victim or whatever. I mean, as it is, he's squatting, and probably his association with us. And I wouldn't doubt that, once again, Varric probably has a hand in keeping the wolves off of Fenris. You know, keeping the wolves away, keeping people who would screw him over because of his association with us, or just for the simple fact that he's out of place in HighTown. You know, the nobles can't like this guy squatting in the mansion next door while they go, or, you know, around posturing with their rich hoity-toity lives and stuff, and yet he's still here. And so I can't help but think that Varric would have something to do with that. We're going to find that he's not only been helping out Anders, which he'll regret later, I'm sure, but, you know, he helped us initially. He never really said as much, and never really came up directly, but the bottom line is he kept the Carta and the cartels and the nobles and the underground and the, you know, all the criminal elements at bay, the ones who would, you know, blackmail us, you know, with information on our sister and, you know, things like that. And considering we had some direct dealings with some of these criminal organizations, we were prime targets for that type of thing. And Varric managed to keep all that off of us for the most part. He couldn't keep the Templars away, though, from Bethany when all was said and done, but probably because of his absence. Because we were weeks down in the deep roads. It's probably the only reason that happened to Bethany. Because if there was anything Varric could do for Bethany, he loved Bethany. All right, and he would have had her back 100%, no doubt in my mind. I'm 100% sure of that. But we were gone, you know, and if Bartram would have had his way, we'd be dead, you know, as far as that goes. And so he wasn't there to protect her. But while he's out, our party and our friends are his friends, and he's down for that. And he's as much our homeboy here as Garrus is in Mass Effect. He's just got your back, just regardless. You do right, you do wrong, whatever. He may or may not approve of it, although he's not. He doesn't have too many scruples as far as that goes. Still, he's got your back regardless, because he knows your heart's in the right place, and his is too, and that's just freaking awesome. Anyway, so seeing some people with different eyes. Meryl also, I'm gonna treat her a little differently. I have one viewer almost insists that I romance Meryl, and I was kind of on the fence about that, because I tend to romance Isabella. I think I'm going to go the friendship route with Isabella and be buddies with her. Don't know that I want a brazen hussy, just a flamboyant whore, as she would call herself. She has no qualms about that. She's cool with that. That's her life, and she wants to live wild and free, and okay, whatever. And let her do that. Let her do her thing. But as far as having a relationship goes, I don't know. I think I'm going to lean towards Meryl on this one. That's not my canon that I imported into Inquisition, but I don't know that makes a whole lot of difference anyway. I may change one or two things here. Change my Meryl romance. Oh, well, here's an ambush. Okay, you can only travel so many times before this happens. After you kick Dougal out of the house. He thinks he's going to stud up here with all of his homeboys and girlfriends and such. And we're going to have to teach him a lesson. I need to remember to reactivate the lightning that I turned off down in the deep roads. For Anders, I'll probably be turning that off again at the end of this chapter. There'll be a fight where you'll have more lightning immune enemies.
Look who's here.
Dougal.
It turns out we'll need to do this the hard way, Hawk. I'll get the money you owe me if I have to tear your mansion apart brick by brick.
So you thought an ambush would get you what you want?
I considered going after your mother, but I prefer the direct approach. Boys, let's make this quick. I want to be in that mansion within the hour.
Oh yeah, well, that's the last time my mother comes out of your mouth. As a matter of fact, your mother, how about that? Yeah, I don't take that lightly. You'd be better off just insulting me directly than saying anything about my mom. Honestly. Oh, I hit hard, bitch. I hit hard. Alright. Google is... There he is. Alright, we got him now. You're out of... You can't heal no more, punk. You can go invisible, though. Bastard. Okay. Notice Aveline's taunt is a little more effective, larger range, drew the assassins finally away from my mages. Alright, and so the more she can do that, and the more, and the tougher she becomes, then the easier this gets, essentially. Is once Aveline is essentially immune to just about everything, pretty much, and she can draw all the hate, then the mages can just do their thing. You're gonna find some things will go a lot easier. This right here is pretty much the ideal crew. I have nothing for Anders as a person, but he's, well, especially with Bethany gone now, and we were gonna lose her regardless. He's a dedicated healer, and that's something that you kind of need to have, especially on Nightmare. Definitely, I can't see running around without a healer unless I'm playing a mage. Might be a different story, but anyway. This is pretty much the crew here. I was talking earlier, running my mouth, as usual, when I was leveling up Meryl, but I've got an idea with Meryl. I think I may have... It looks good on paper. It sounds good in my head. I just have to see how it works. Seemed to be all right there, although she didn't catch a lot of heat. And if she's not going to catch much heat for the rest of the game, then the point's kind of moot. But the thing with her Blood of the First, it allows her to use her health pool, all right, which is a win-win, because not only does she get more health, right, which is always a good thing, but that counts kind of as her mana also. But then her actual mana bar becomes like a secondary battery to help her buff the party with all of the sustained abilities. or the other buffs like elemental weapons and giving herself rock armor and what have you, right? And keeping Blood of the First active and all that. Okay, the problem has been if she gets hurt when it comes time to heal, she can't be healed by standard means when Blood of the First is active. She has to deactivate it, right? And once she does that, her mana bar takes a second to recharge, and if we're in the heat of battle, a lot of times she can't reactivate Blood of the First, and she already has no mana, so she's in a sense left defenseless with just her staff attacks. She's not healing anybody, because that's not her job, right? And she's not able to put up the spells that I have her putting up because she has no mana left, right? And she's not drawing off her health anymore because Blood of the First isn't active, and she can't reactivate it because she doesn't have the mana available, right? So what I have her doing is once she gets to, like, say 50% health, is to deactivate Blood of the First, all right? And then heal herself, all right? And then only reactivate elemental weapons and rock armor and all that other stuff once she has 75% of her mana or more in reserve. Now, even if she's using 70% for Blood of the First, her remaining mana is the percentage that it counts off of, right? So even though she only has 30% of her mana in reserve after activating Blood of the First, that still counts as 100% of her remaining mana, if that makes sense. So I think even if she only has essentially 10 mana left after activating Blood of the First, let's just say, all right, elemental weapons and rock armor and whatever else you might have going on, those count towards percent of mana, not actual amount of mana. So they don't cost a certain amount, they just cost a percent of the remaining mana, right? But the bottom line is she needs to get that Blood of the First active first, and then activate everything else once she has whatever's left of her mana pool available, if that makes sense. It sounds good in my head, we'll see if it works.
Here. That young lady, Hawk, she decimated Flint Company. No survivors. Yet, now that I know who sent them, it's harder to see their deaths as justice.
Death is never justice.
You're wrong.
Hawk, we were just talking about you.
That's why the Chantry's ineffective, thinking like that and preaching that shit.
Saying good things, I hope.
Many people in Kirkwall have good things to say about you.
I've learned who hired Flint Company. The Harrimans, a noble family of Kirkwall. They were my parents' allies. It's hard to believe they betrayed us like this.
Wasn't Harriman the guy in the docks in Act 1?
Lord Harriman.
When he was helping Ferelden's?
He was a good man, but he became rather strange in his dotage. He died some years back. His daughter took over the family, Lady Johanne Harriman. They say she's become quite reclusive of late.
Any idea why they turned on you?
Money? Power? It's hard to say. Lady Harriman was always jealous of my family for being royalty when hers were mere nobility. But I can't imagine that pushing her into outright murder.
Is there any peaceful way to resolve this?
If you treat the Harrimans like those mercenaries, you could start a war. Go carefully, Sebastian.
Lady, you would have everyone do nothing, like yourself.
Madness. But I am the last of my line. I should not go alone and make myself a target.
If I'm standing beside you, that should make her think twice.
Again, your interest in my plight humbles me. If you like, I can travel with you until you confront Lady Harriman. Otherwise, you can always find me here in the Chantry.
Alright, so we get to put him in the party now. Alright, so Pedro's right. This is, left a comment saying that we get Sebastian in Act 2, and here we go. And the first things. And I think our party is complete now. It's everybody. I want to get some insight into this Grand Cleric lady, too, also. Matter of fact, I need to look up here. I think maybe some codexes pop up also. They do. There we go. I think these are worth, what, 50 XP a piece? I don't know, something like that. But whatever, I'll take it. we're going to see that the Chantry's complete ineffectiveness, their absolute inability to do anything ever, you know, they'll gladly accept the tithes from their petitioners and their worshippers and stuff, right? But they don't actually do anything. They become ineffective, as useless as wet tissue paper. Seriously, watch.
I cannot fault Sebastian for wanting to know why an old ally would turn against his parents. But I fear he's too impetuous. He may do something he regrets. Please, go with him, try to restrain him. If the Harrimans are guilty, they will receive justice from the Viscount.
You actually believe that?
Sebastian need not take their punishment into his own hands.
Why? Something might actually get done? Activity scares the Chantry?
On the Kunari presence here?
Would it help anything for us to get involved? Or is it more likely to light the kindling? If the Kunari act against us, the Templars will defend Kirkwall. Otherwise, we guard ourselves best by waiting.
Justifying their uselessness with pretty speeches. Wow.
I became
Religion.
a lay sister here when I was only a girl. My parents died of fever, and I was taken in by the Chantry. Eventually, I took my vows. After I had served for some time, the revered mothers agreed that I should travel to Orlais. The Divine herself appointed me Grand Cleric of Kirkwall. That was near 30 years ago.
You knew my grandparents?
I dedicated your mother into the Chantry. She was a beautiful baby. Your grandmother was a very proper lady, but she was beside herself that day. And your mother put a fist in my eye.
Are you
How about
intending
something
to
that actually
stay
means
neutral
something?
about the Kunari and mages forever?
The Maker's time is not men's time. We do not need to rush. The Chantry is not a domineering father with the whip always in hand. She is a gentle mother who knows her children learn best when allowed to learn themselves.
What a shithole, garbage, pretty, fluent way of saying that you're not going to do anything ever for anybody. You'll take, but there's no giving back. You know what? Whatever. Useless as wet tissue paper. Totally, completely useless. I get her little sob story. Okay, yeah, you know, your poor humble beginnings getting, and that's all great. I'm not saying she's not a nice woman, okay? But that doesn't make her worth a shit. You know, as far as that goes, she's got a position here. She's supposed to be watching over the Templars. The Templars essentially are an offshoot of the Chantry, what essentially serve the Chantry in a way, right? And it's to watch over the mages. They're totally out of control, and we can see why now, because the restraining hand that should rein Meredith in and, you know, slap some sense into her, it's you know, the reins are in the wrong hand now. Essentially, Meredith's running the whole show, and the Chantry's told, you just sit over there, be quiet, take your tithes, give some pretty speeches every once in a while, give everyone a good excuse why you won't ever do anything about anything that matters, right? While the world crumbles around you, and that's just useless, in my opinion. All right. But, well, it's just a shame. Okay, now what I need to do for Sebastian here is we need to go get him a Maker's Sai. He's got some completely useless abilities. He's a great DPS dealer as far as that goes. He has some of the same tactical stuff, advantages that, Sorry, I gotta do that every time I come in here. That's one of my favorite lines in the game. Don't manhandle the urchin. Anyway, he has the same tactical stuff that Varric and Isabella have, but he has some really cool debuffs in his specialist tree that allow him to essentially break down enemy armor or make them take more damage, you know? And you can throw some other stuff in there too, like, you know, give him Chameleon's Breath and give him Goad and stuff like that. If I was to carry him with me a lot, I could develop him really, really well. I like his archery, his version of his, you know, archery specialist, probably more than Varric's. At least as much. He does some good stuff, but I'm playing a rogue. I'm probably not going to have him with me unless I have to. He's going to have his own personal companion stuff to do, I'm sure. But aside from that, I probably won't be taking him. He's a decent guy. He's boring, He's very nice and all that. Varric personally doesn't really like him. You find that later in Inquisition. He makes some references to the guy. Nothing real personal. It's just the guy's just a little too stiff, a little too uptight for Varric's taste, and I would agree a bit. But I think he's true to what he believes. I think what he claims to believe, he also uses to govern himself. In other words, he runs all of his judgments and decisions through what he wants to be judged by, and I respect that. Whether I agree with his beliefs or not is really kind of irrelevant, as long as you're true to it, and you don't mean harm to anyone else in the process of that, then that's cool. He would like to avenge his family, and that's the right thing. And I don't believe anyone but the perpetually offended and the overly hypocritical and self-righteous would disagree with that. Is that he has every right to avenge his family and to stop further bloodshed, namely regarding himself, being in line of that family, and to go regain what was properly his. It's an act of war. It's committed against his family. He's allowed to fight. And, Chantry's totally, the Grand Cleric lady, she's totally full of shit on that one. Oh, just everybody be nice. If you raise your hand to hit another, you're actually doing something, and that intimidates me, and that threatens my false sense of security and peace, while the Chantry sits by and does nothing, so you need to do nothing too. That's what they would have you do, and then, then the wicked just take over, Next thing you know, they're running your country. They're running your Chantry. They're running your cities. They're running your people. They're dictating what does and does not get into the newspaper. They are, and these things happen through that inactivity. You have to be somewhat vigilant because I think Bob Marley said it best. I think he'd just been shot. Bringing up Bob Marley as an example. I believe the story is that Bob Marley had just been shot. Somebody had attempted to kill him. Some asshole, for whatever their cause might have been. Guy's a musician, man. That doesn't make any sense. I can't think of anybody Bob Marley ever hurt. But he's just a couple days off of just getting shot, and he's right back up there on stage, and they're saying, why don't you at least take a break? And he says, basically the devil doesn't rest. Why should I? The devil doesn't ever take a vacation. Why should I? And that's kind of true. The wicked are always looking for an angle. They're always looking for an open window. They're like thieves constantly circling your house, and they are, Not liking that doesn't make it not so. And not liking that and ignoring it, that huge elephant in the middle of the room, and allowing it to break into your house and take over, all the while telling you, we're guests here. No. No, just don't do anything. Everything will be just fine. Well, actually, no, it won't. In fact, not doing anything is the reason they got in the house in the first place, to take up shop. And Grand Cleric will have to accept the fact that we're past that point. That's the way things already are here in the city, and it can't end well. And she might as well continue to not do anything now, but she's going to have to at some point pay the price, because she is in a position, all right, that demands action, and she's completely inactive, and everyone's going to pay for that, Anyway, Sebastian, my whole thing with him going down, I was looking in his specialist tree to take a little glance to see what was available here. And I'll just go pure DPS with him. I'm not going to spend a lot of time building him, because I don't think he's going to be a staple in my party. If I was playing a warrior, I might consider bringing him along as an alternative to Isabella and Varric, as another rogue to have in, if I was playing a warrior or even a mage. But playing a rogue, there's not much room for him here. But he can do his thing. Communion's Breath will definitely play into some things I'll be doing here shortly. I unlocked my shadow tree. And what that's going to do is that has the ultimate synergy with the assassin tree, is that it really allows you to essentially pull off criticals all the time. And it's a similar theory that I base my builds. Well, I would say Origins and Inquisition, honestly, is criticals all the time, right? I'd rather hit you for 500 5 times than 1,000 twice. Yeah, if any of you that have watched my other Let's Plays and build videos will have heard me say that. And so that's kind of my logic is maybe the criticals are a little smaller. Well, that's not really the case here in Dragon Age 2. One thing I love about this is basically your abilities always hit, all right? And as long as your dexterity or your primary attack stat is decent, you're going to hit most of the time, okay? And so you can really concentrate on your damage stat, you know, and with the rogue, it would be cunning. Okay, and that raises your critical damage. There are some passives in the shadow tree and other stuff in the assassin's tree and throughout the rest of your character, which can increase critical damage a lot. There's one like for every point of cunning, you get an extra % critical damage. And so once you pick that passive in the assassin tree, it essentially almost doubles your critical damage at one point. Well, you know, it adds a good percentage. And then there's a passive in the shadow tree, which just raises your critical damage by 50% period. That's so huge. You stack those two together and you're pulling off, you know, 10s, even maybe 100K hits or something. You know, if, you know, everything has to fall just right. You have to use the right ability in just the right way when somebody's set up for a combo, you know, like petrified or something along those lines. But once you have, you know, all your cross-class combos set up and you have your critical damage just buffed through the roof, then, you know, you become really nasty. And if you're pulling off criticals with just about every hit, you know, if you're obscure, it's a critical. If you're in stealth or coming out of stealth, it's a critical. If you're coming out of stealth, you stay obscure for a while. So you don't even really need a rogue there constantly hitting you with Chameleon's Breath. You can obscure yourself. And, you know, you start using... it's why I like to upgrade stealth, actually. So that... there's actually 2 upgrades. One is you're allowed to move at full speed, and there's another one that I think it allows you to stay in stealth longer. Not so much worried about that, but it costs a little less. Not worried about that so much either. You get your stamina back as long as you're hitting somebody, you know. And for the most part, you should be running around and just going to town, jumping from enemy to enemy, getting them backstabs when you can, and so on and so forth. It's cooldown, you know. Anything that could reduce cooldown would probably be better. Now, there's a lot of points you can sink into the tree that provides speed and power and all that kind of stuff. But that requires a lot of points there. And I think one of them is it reduces all your ability cooldowns by 10%. But you have to sink, I don't know, it's like, at least 4 or 5 points into that tree to unlock that one upgrade. And that's like a quarter of all your points, you know, all your level points. And so I can't really afford that in this build. It's an option. I'm just not gonna go that way with it. You can see what I'm picking, and you can see some of my tactics, some basic general ideas. Is a little bit to get himself out of trouble. He's got this cool thing, this guardian angel thing, which is a decoy of himself. It'll be kind of confusing because sometimes you'll see an extra party member just standing there and you'll be like, why isn't Sebastian doing anything? Well, he's off somewhere else shooting somebody, but that's his decoy standing there. It's kind of tricky, but I mean, he has some cool stuff in his tree. He does. Like I say, if I was playing warrior, then and I needed the rogue in the party, I might bring him along. Like I say, instead of Eric, he can do some of the same things. Very similar, actually. He has different kinds of buffs for the party with his specialist tree. But they're, you know, just as valuable, I guess, overall. Whatever. Comparing apples to oranges. When I distributed his attribute points, like I said, I didn't put a lot of thought into it. I basically went with a sweet spot. And what that means is you get the attributes up to a certain point. They'll have very minimal return. In other words, each point might only give you +1 to attack. Up to a certain point, then it'll start jumping up by 3, 4, 5, and then it'll drop back down again. And there's like this sweet spot. There's this 4, 5, 6 point window there, depending on what level you are, and where, you know, there's a certain amount of dexterity, a certain amount of cunning that will give you maximum returns. And then after that, if you try to like dump everything into one stat, it drops off a little bit. You could say that about cunning with my rogue, but the thing is whether it's 1 point or 10 points, whatever, is I'm dumping everything into cunning regardless. Is every single percentage of extra damage I can do with my criticals, that's really what matters. And I believe cunning also raises defense too, which reduces my chance of getting hit by enemies. So that, you know, that's an added bonus. But what I'm worried about is my critical damage, because at some point, just about everything's going to be a critical. That's really what I'm gearing this build towards. And once we get up to about, what are we right now, 13 or 14, something like that? When we get about 20, between 18 and 20, 21, 22, somewhere in that range, maybe around the end of Act 2 or something, we'll actually do a character build, and we'll take a deep look. We'll set aside a whole hour or something for just tactics and stuff, and I'll label it, you know, build, and I'll include it in the Let's Play series. And, you know, we'll throw it in here as basically a segment, but I'm going to stand off to the side with my favorite core group, and we'll go over all the tactics, we'll go over all the skills, talk about why put, you know, a certain thing where, if it's working or not. You know, I'm always tweaking stuff, experimenting a little bit here and there. There is that. But for the most part, I have the basic build and basic tactics down. What I want everyone doing. Like I say, it's always fun to try something new and say, you know what, this might actually work even better. Heavenly might be able to draw more hate with this, or be more effective, or set up for more combos, or something. You know, that type of thing.
That's all that matters. Why do you ask?
So I decided to come off in here and see if there's any chests, any loot to have. Seeing as we're in a new act, then everything should be pretty much respawned or reset.
They never do.
Alright. And that's XP, not just loot. That's a good thing. We'll get out of here. Alright, so we've visited some companions and stuff. Gotten a lot of that out of the way. What I'm probably going to do is do a lot of side quests before I get into any main quest stuff. Because I think each main quest that you do unlocks some new side quests. And I think it's possible to even lose one or two side quests. If you don't get them out of the way, there's a point where it kind of washes them out and replaces them with other stuff. So I want to make sure that doesn't happen. Try to be as thorough as I can. Plus we have the DLC to think about too, so lots of good stuff ahead.
Good people die when leaders do whatever it takes.
Good people know the necessity.
Sebastian's not just a tool in the shed. He's got his own mind. You know, he can think for himself. Alright, thanks for watching. You want to subscribe, click that button up top. For more Dragon Age 2, this Let's Play up to this point, click that image in the middle, and I will catch y'all later. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.